appreciate your presence.
Thank you.
So, fellow countrymen and women, we gather here today in a very somber mood. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights is deeply concerned by the current state of human rights and rule of law in the country. As the Commission has stated in the past, our very progressive constitution guarantees a bevy of rights, most of which cannot be limited. The Commission has this past week noticed trends that are worrying. As per our constitutive mandate, the Commission is compelled to raise its voice once again and highlight the critical issues that need urgent attention. The grim and grave reality is there has been a clear manifestation of violations of fundamental rights and freedoms. It is disheartening to witness the escalating tensions and the blatant disregard for human rights principles and standards by both protesters and indeed security agents, which have resulted in uncalled for deaths, grievous bodily harm, injuries, and destruction of property. In view of the already documented occurrences and state of affairs in containing the protests, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights wishes to address itself to the following pertinent issues that have captured the nation. One is torture by security agents. The Kenya Constitution in Article 25 guarantees the right to freedom from torture and other cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment or punishment. The Commission has received reports of torture and abuse, wanton beating of persons, even after surrender, indiscriminate tear gassing of residences and schools, and there have been heart-rending images on mainstream media and social media platforms, clearly showing the involvement of uniformed police officers in the wanton and brutal attack of defenseless members of the public at all times. Security agents must be held accountable for their actions and comply with the law which expressly prohibits torture. The Commission, within its mandate in the Prevention of Torture Act, shall initiate inquiries into the alleged instances of torture and issue reports and recommend effective measures for prevention and accountability. The Commission also urges the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, to hasten its investigations into the allegations of torture and ensure perpetrators face appropriate legal action. Access to justice. Article 48 of the Kenya Constitution guarantees every person the right to have any dispute resolved through the formal system or alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. Article 49 requires arrested persons to be brought to court as soon as reasonably possible, but not later than 24 hours after being arrested. However, there have been reports of delays and denial of justice for those arrested, including the denial of bail at the point of arrest as provided in Article 49. The right to a fair and timely trial must be upheld for all citizens. Conduct of police and security agents during arrests. The Commission notes that Article 49 provides rights of an arrested person, which include the right to be informed promptly in a language they understand of the reason for the arrest, the right to remain silent, the consequences of not remaining silent, and the right to communicate with an advocate and other person whose assistance is necessary. The National Police Service is mandated to maintain law and order while observing and respecting constitutional provisions. Breaking into homes, as was seen in Kisumu and other places, and affecting improper arrests while dispensing brutality and torture infringes upon the rights of citizens and violates their dignity and sanctity of their private spaces. The Commission calls on the police and other security agents to conduct arrests in a lawful and respectful manner adhering to established procedures, and respecting the rights and individuals and dignity of individuals. Respect for judiciary presence and dispersal of citizens. The judiciary is an arm of government and an independent institution in Kenya, and its presence must be respected as spaces for the administration of justice. Reports and recorded cases of security agents violently dispersing citizens and journalists within court premises violates the principles of separation of powers and undermines the rule of law. The Commission urges the government to ensure the protection of the judicial spaces and uphold the independence of that judiciary, allowing citizens and journalists to exercise their right to freedom of expression and access to information without fear of intimidation or reprisals. The infringement also affected lawyers and families of the arrested, thus infringing the right to access legal support and access justice. Allegations of abductions. The Commission has received reports of alleged abductions by persons believed to be police officers in the recent past. These events are worrying as the reminders of our dark past, where the security agencies had special squads that would effect such extrajudicial activities. Such practices violate fundamental human rights and erode trust between the police, the state, and its citizens. These incidences must be investigated transparently and impartially, and those found accountable be held responsible, and any individual found involved in those egregious actions should be brought to book. Assault and arbitrary arrest of human rights defenders. The Commission has observed increased assaults and arbitrary arrests of human rights defenders who are striving to ensure respect for human rights principles. These defenders play a critical role in promoting accountability and safeguarding citizens' rights, and their safety and protection must be guaranteed. Harassment and injuries of special interest groups and the vulnerable. Special interest groups and vulnerable populations, including women, children, the elderly, and persons with disabilities, must be protected from violence and harassment at all times. Articles 53, 54, and 57 provide for protection and preservation of the special interest group's rights. It was disheartening to see tear gas lobbed into schools and homes. It was also disheartening to see an old lady being beaten up by a policeman, mothers with babies running out of their houses after their residences were tear gassed, and especially a woman in a wheelchair being beaten up by a policeman. The Commission is also greatly concerned by reports of numerous violations against particularly children. It is unfortunate that children, despite their innocence, continue to face the brunt of the violence. Cases of arbitrary arrests and alleged torture against children have been reported, with some children being held at the industrial area remand prison. This is unacceptable. Law enforcement agencies and the justice system must protect our children. No child shall be arbitrarily arrested, detained with adults, or tortured. This must end. The Commission is also concerned about reports that there are several people who are nursing injuries at home for fear of arrest should they seek medication. The right to emergency medical treatment is enshrined in Article 43(2), and we urge all medical personnel to accord medical treatment to the injured while observing the principles of confidentiality. In light of the current state of affairs in our country, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights urgently calls on all parties involved in the ongoing demonstrations to avoid the grandstanding and to have structured engagement and uphold the rule of law and respect for human rights. The Commission further recommends as follows. 1. Urgent investigations and prosecution of perpetrators of torture and other human rights violations must be prioritized to ensure accountability and justice for the victims and their families. Authorities must expedite the resolution of court cases related to this and ensure access to justice for all citizens who have been arrested and detained. Security agencies must conduct arrests and dispersal operations in a lawful and respectful manner, adhering to constitutional principles, established procedures, and respecting the rights and dignity of individuals and their private spaces. The government should guarantee the protection and independence of the judiciary, ensuring citizens and journalists can exercise their right to freedom of expression and access to information without fear of intimidation or reprisals at the court presence. Thorough and transparent investigations must be conducted into allegations of abductions and infiltration by security agents in media circles for the purpose of arresting demonstrators. Human rights defenders and members of civil service society organizations should be protected from assaults and arbitrary arrests, as they play a crucial role in promoting accountability and safeguarding citizens' rights. And finally, special interest groups and vulnerable populations must be protected from violence and harassment during demonstrations, ensuring their rights to equality and freedom from discrimination are upheld. As the country navigates these challenging times, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights reiterates the duty and responsibility of all to safeguard human rights and fundamental freedoms in Kenya. The Commission calls on all Kenyan citizens, government institutions, civil society organizations, and the media to work together in fostering a climate of respect for human rights, structured engagements, and peaceful coexistence. The Commission remains engaged in the investigation and accountability of these human rights violations and abuses. In the discharge of its constitutive mandate, the Commission is taking appropriate steps to redress the violations without fear or faltering. Lest we forget, human rights are inherent, interdependent, indivisible, and universal. Human rights cannot be suspended, nor are they optional. They must be observed by all people and institutions in all places at all times. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Tuko na reports nyingi tumepata kwa hizi wiki zimepita kuhusu dhulma mbalimbali yenye Wakenya wamepitia. Tumepata reports za dhulma na zenye zimetendewa na maaskari wa polisi. Tumepata ya kwamba kuna mahali wameweza tupa tear gas kwenye mashule na nyumba za watu, na hii inadhuluma hata watoto wenye wanaishi kwenye hizo nyumba na watoto wenye wako shule. Hii tunaona ni mbaya sana, manake hao watoto kweli sidhani wako na hatia wakati wanapata hiyo tear gas. Pia tumeona kwenye mitambo mbalimbali askari wakipiga wananchi, hata mwananchi mwenye asha surrender hapigani nao, anapigwa kama nyoka, na hiyo tumeona si nzuri sana. Na tunasema kama tume tuko na mandate under Prevention of Torture Act kufanya uchunguzi na kupea serikali recommendations ya vile tunaweza rekebisha vitendo ya askari wetu Kenya ili tusirudie maneno kama haya. Pia tunaomba tume ya IPOA ifanye uchunguzi kwa njia ya haraka na halali, ili wale wanapatikana na hatia waweze kujibu mashtaka haya. Pia tumeona maneno za urahisi ya kupata haki zimedhulumiwa pia, manake tuliweza kuona watu wanashikwa na hawaletwi kotini kwa njia ya haraka. Katiba inasema ya kwamba mtu akishikwa inatakana afikishwe mahakamani within 24 hours, lakini tumeona hivi karibuni watu wanashikwa, hawaletwi kotini, wanaletwa kotini baada ya hiyo saa, na ofisa ya mashtaka pia ya DPP pia inakubali tu haya mashtaka na hao wanapelekwa kotini. Hii yote tunasema ni nyuma ya katiba yetu, na si haki kwa wale wanatendewa hivyo, na tunataka kuona marekebisho, manake kila mtu ana haki ya fair trial wakati wote. Pia tumeona maaskari wakishika watu wanaifanya nyuma ya katiba, kinyume na katiba, manake Article 49 inapea watu haki ya kuelezwa kwa nini wanashikwa, na hiyo inatakana waelezwe mara moja wakiposhikwa kwa lugha wanayoelewa. Pia watu wana haki kutosema chochote wakati wanashikwa, the right to remain silent. Pia wanatakana wapewe nafasi ya kuongea na wakili ama mtu yeyote wanaona wanaweza wapea usaidizi baada ya kushikwa. Hivi karibuni tumeona maaskari wakishika watu bila kuwapea hizi nafasi, bila kuambia sababu ya kushikwa, na pia bila kuwaruhusu kupata nafasi kuongea na mawakili wao ama mtu yeyote yenye anaweza kuwasaidia. Kwa hivyo sisi kama tume tunaomba National Police Service, maaskari wetu waweze kushika watu kwa njia inayofaa, waache kushika watu kinyume na katiba. Pia tumeona maaskari wakiingia kwenye mahakama na kuleta tatizo huko, manake watu mahakama ni mali open, it's a public space. Kwa hivyo kila mtu yeyote ana haki ya kufika kule kusikiza kesi yeyote, si kesi yake peke yake. Kwa hivyo mahakama ni open space, lakini hivi juzi tumeona askari wamefika pale, wameweza kupiga watu na kuwakataza kuingia mahakamani. Hii ni hatia kubwa sana, na pia tunasema hii ni kitu lazima isirudiwe, manake ni kitu ina defile our judiciary. Kwa hivyo tunasema that was a big violation, ni dhulma kubwa sana. Pia tumekuwa na allegations za abduction, watu kushikwa bila kuambiwa sababu, na penye wanapelekwa watu hawajui, nani anawashika pia haijulikani vizuri. Lakini tumeambiwa na wengine, ile reports zinatufikia, ni watu wanakaa ni kama maaskari wa polisi, wameweza kushika watu na kuenda nao na kuwaweka mahali sipojulikana kwa masiku, na hii pia ni kitu inajulikana kama abduction, na hiyo ni dhulma kwa haki za binadamu. Tumepata report moja kutoka Kisumu ya human rights defender, alishikwa Kisumu na alipatikana karibu Muhoroni au Chemelil baadaye, na alikuwa ameumia sana wakati alipatikana, na wakati alishikwa hakuwa ameumia. Kwa hivyo hizo ni part of hizo cases za abduction zenye tumepata. Alafu tena kuna cases ya human rights defenders, watetezi wa haki za kibinadamu kwenye society, na social justice defenders huko nje wametatizwa sana na maaskari wakati hii imepita, na tunaona hiyo pia ni kinyume na sheria, manake hawa si criminals. Hawa ni watu wa kutetea haki za wenzao. Kwa hivyo wanatakana wapewe heshima wakati wanayofanya kazi yao. Alafu tumeona pia kesi za kudhuluma watoto, wamama, walemavu na wakongwe. Sasa tumeona hiyo, na hiyo pia tunaona ni hatia. Tumeona wakati mama mzee, mama mkongwe anavuka barabara akifuatwa na askari na anachapwa. Tumeona wakati wa mama wako na watoto kwa nyumba zao, tiaga sikarushwa huko, wamama wameshika watoto wachanga sana wakitoka nje za nyumba zao. Tena tumeona mama mmoja alikuwa kwenye wheelchair, naye alichapwa vibaya sana na askari. Hizi zote tunasema ni hatia na ni mbaya. Pia tumepata makesi ya watoto wadogo under 18s wanafungwa kwenye remand na adults, na hiyo ni kinyume pia na sheria. Children's Act is very clear, the constitution is very clear, na hizo pia tunasema ni si vizuri ziendelee. Mwishowe tumepata ripoti za watu wameumia na wanaogopa kufika kwenye hospitali, manake wakienda pale wanashikwa. So hii ni ina offend haki zao kupata medical care wakati ya kuumia, na tunaomba madaktari wahudumie hao watu bila kudhulumu haki zao za kupata matibabu kwa njia ya haraka wakati mtu ameumia. Kwa hivyo kama tume tunaomba IPOA kwa kwanza ifanye uchunguzi. Tunaomba security agents warekebishe namna wanaposhika watu ama wana disperse crowds, manake vile wanaifanya sasa ni kinyume ya katiba. Pia tunaomba human rights defendants wapewe heshima yao wakifanya kazi zao, ili waweze kuendelea kutetea haki za wengine. Na mwisho tunaomba haki za wanyonge, watoto, wamama, walemavu, wao wote ziheshimiwe. So kwa hivyo hiyo ndio tunasema, na tunawakumbusha tuwe watu wa kutetea haki kwa wote kila wakati, na kila wakati tuheshimu haki za wengine. Asanteni sana.